Lo que me gusta de lo que usted plantea, que no es una teoría que salió en un escritorio, porque hay mucha gente que ha inventado teorías y revoluciones en su escritorio. Usted ha hecho una revolución. Por eso que sus palabras tienen autoridad. ¿Ah? Me gustaría que me contara cómo usted de alguna manera ha revolucionado la medicina. Usted hizo ahí una revolución, una pequeña gran revolución. ¿Qué es lo central de esa pequeña gran revolución que usted hizo en la medicina? Y que nos puede servir como modelo para otras revoluciones que se pueden hacer en otros ámbitos.
The revolution I have wanted in medicine is still in its infancy.
Mm-hmm.
But where a nonviolent, think mother, think love, compassion, and generosity, if we refuse to accept the sword of money and power and men who beat women,
mm-hmm.
what are our tools for our revolution? Ideas and actions. Sometimes you have to take a very simple or superficial step to try to make the big revolution
Mm-hmm.
happen. Like a wedge. To split a big log
Mm-hmm.
will happen from the fat part of the wedge. But the fat part of the wedge could never do it unless the tiny, 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 very sharp part of the wedge makes the first cut and makes the way for what will really crack this great piece of wood. The crack never breaks the wood. It is there to introduce the possibility of the fat part that will. So let's take the movie. If you see the movie and don't know Patch Adams, you think Patch Adams is the doctor of laughter.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. That is the sharp part of my wedge. Right? And it was also all of my life the sharp part of the wedge. All over the world, everyone will shout, laughter is the best medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think friendship is the best medicine, but we'll say laughter is the best medicine. So, a good revolutionary of love and compassion and generosity would say, oh, that's my sword. That's my sharp point. If I have a reputation of fun and funny and laughter, even the greediest, most violent person likes funny. They're never going to listen to my fat part, and so the reason we had a kind of magic last night at the university that even overwhelmed me. I think it is on film. People should see it. It was love stood up. It was the fat part. The fattest part of the wedge is, of course, love.
Bueno, Cristo ya lo dijo, ¿no? Que lo esencial es el amor. Ese era el corazón de su revolución. En términos concretos, en relación a la medicina, ¿cómo? Me gustaría contar a lo mejor un caso concreto, o uno o dos casos, donde se muestra que esta nueva manera de hacer medicina a través de la risa y del amor produce cambios más importantes o tan importantes como los que producen los remedios o las operaciones. ¿Cómo llegó usted a esa conclusión y cómo vio eso empíricamente?
Well, first, again, I must correct the language we are using. It's not new. It is only this dominant culture loving money and power who's completely ignorant of love and humor and compassion that thinks it is new. Whatever I have done in medicine was done to me by my mother. She was a school teacher who loved me and was fun. So it had nothing to do with new. It had to do with feminine power. I am nothing as a man except as my mother made me. That has to be heard. It has to be heard. We have to stop hitting and hurting women and children. We have to. There's no hope without it. So, all I did, when I was in medical school, there were no women in medicine. Men had power to prevent women from going into medicine, so I had to be a fake woman. I kind of look a little like one. Women wear colorful clothes, have long hair, and are friendly. So I was an infiltrator of my mother in my body, like a possession. Because what my mother did, and maybe your mother did,
Yes.
was that she made me. And so when I saw the injustice and the wrong behavior of arrogant, egotistical doctors who thought they had more power over the nurse and the technician and the parents and the children, I knew they were wrong. And I can give my 34 years in medicine is a constant story of that wrong and the constant truth of the power of love and humor. And I'll give you a couple of examples. When I was a medical student, I was in the emergency room, and a family's child was brought in dead from an accident. When I was in training, never once did the male doctors ever mention the word love, ever mention the word compassion, ever mention anything to do with actual human exchange of something other than information and procedure. They did that very well. It was such a wrong direction. So, I had no training as another male doctor who was supposed to follow in those footsteps to what to do with this family. You know, I can tell them the child will go to the morgue and that maybe you need a prescription for a medicine to help you sleep. Completely ignoring that they just lost their child. They're weeping and they're going, well, maybe you need a sleeping pill for the sleeping and we'll be sure to take care of all the... So what did they teach me? Call the nurse, which means call the woman. They know how to deal with humanity. But I said, no, I'm not going to call a woman, a nurse. I'm going to be that. What do I have? One, I can have kind eyes. I can have a face that tells them something. Like my mother's face told me something. I have my hands to reach out and touch them. Then what do I have? What are the words to say? No education. The doctors didn't know the words. So I went to where it was easiest. I saw the family were Baptists, Christians. I'm not a Christian, but I know Christ. And I said, do you mind if we pray? They were shocked. The doctor said we would pray. I went down on my knees. I held my hands together and took all of my mother's love and what that meant, and it came out the metaphor of Christ's love with all the sincerity. For over 10 years, this family wrote me how that moment changed how they felt about their child's death in the power of love, in the form of the power of faith.